Next, to my left, we shall have Honorable Baya, a member for Kilifi North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to contribute to this bill and say a few things, and at the onset say that we will propose several amendments to the bill. But I want to congratulate Honorable Kamkate for the effort and for the bill. That for the first time, after the many years, the 11th Parliament and this one, now we are going to have an act that will manage the Equalization Fund. The Equalization Fund, as put in the Constitution, was supposed to help regions catch up. And there was a reason. And my people of Kilifi actually voted for the Constitution basically because this article was in that Constitution. But we have come a long way, many years. But because of the treasury mandarins that we have there, they have been unable to implement this for their own purpose. And this is not just money that is being given. This is a fund. A fund means that every year, for the number of years that we have been since the inception of this fund, that money should be in an account and should be available for distribution. But what has happened is there's only one distribution. But every year the Constitution says 0.5% of the national revenue at last audited account be available. I went to Treasury and talked to the CS one day and asked him, where is the money? How much is it now from the year it was from the first policy? Because the inception is counted from the first policy. Now, from the first policy up to today, we should be having billions and billions of shillings available right now, which as the counties that are, or the areas that are marginalized should be using that money. But today you go there, they will tell you, we have sent money to health, we have sent money to this, we have sent money to education, but the money for marginalization, equalization fund is supposed to be held there, and it should be run into billions of shillings. But today, those people who are supposed to benefit from this fund, today still languish in poverty despite the availability of these funds. One of the things that I think is available is that they have spent the money for other purposes. But that would be wrong. That will be an injustice. It will be even unconstitutional for them if they have spent the money for other reasons. There was money that was allocated to schools in my constituency under the Equalization Fund. Today, that money has not been used, and that was 2015. Now, 2015, every year until today, when the first policy came, how much money, calculated 0.5% of the revenue, how much money is supposed to be available right now in a kitty for marginalization? But that has not happened. Why? Because there are people in Treasury who have ensured that it is not done because the areas that they come from are not included. And because of that, they say, no, this marginalization, this equalization fund, we cannot implement it. Why? Because my area will not benefit. Because my area will not benefit. But with this bill, we have an opportunity. Those of us who come from those marginalized areas will have an opportunity to see the catching up that is envisioned in the Constitution. Secondly, I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, that marginalization is a process. Is a process. If you read the second policy by CRA, they will tell you how marginalization trickled in this country. From 1932 to sessional paper number 10 to the district focus for rural development, all those policies that were there actually culminated. And the Northern Frontier District, the marginalization of the Northern Frontier District, if you read the history, you realize that that is how marginalization started. Pre-independence and post-independence. And you find that, especially the northeastern area, because of the shifter wars and because of the tussle between Somalia and Kenya about the area, it was marginalized systematically by government. It was denied resources for one reason or the other. And that is why it is what it is. If you come to areas of the coast, it was marginalized. Even the Majimbo policy that was being done then, the Harambe, the Harambe spirit, the Harambe thing that came in, and philosophy, it actually ensured marginalization of certain communities. Those that did not have resources remained without resources, and no resources were sent there. Those that their people had gone to school and had money and everything, developments went into those areas. Why? Because there was deliberate effort to ensure that other areas remained the same. Now, there's something that needs to be corrected. We cannot equate marginalization to poverty. We cannot do that. And therefore we say all poor areas in these countries were marginalized. No. There are those people who became poor because they were marginalized. And that is an important fact. They are poor, they are what they are. Why? Because there was systematic and systemic marginalization of the people, of the areas, and denial of resources, deliberate, for one reason or the other. And there was a deliberate attempt to put more resources in certain areas for them to develop faster than the others. The trickle-down effect that is in session paper number 10, which is very clear, that we put money to where there is already money. And those areas where there is no money, we don't put anything, because we hope the more developed areas will help the others to develop. That's what this constitution and this act needs to cure. But what we are saying is the policy that was done by CRA, it has expanded from the original 14 to 34. And then it has gone down to break it down to small wards. Now, doing that, it means therefore that you will allocate 1 million shillings to a ward. You will go to another ward, allocate 500,000 shillings. We are spreading the money too thin. There will be no benefit to those areas. And those areas that were already developed are continuing to have money. The reason why there are certain things that were put, water, electricity, roads, and health, that's what the Constitution talks about, among others. But it specifically mentioned those areas is because these areas, these places, if you have water, development will come faster. If you have health services, you are helping the area more. If you have electricity, that's why these things were put as the key drivers. Why this money should go to support those areas. Today, someone tells me, Matsangoni is one of the areas that has been identified. Now you can imagine Kilifi, in my constituency, which has a lot of pockets of poor areas, only one ward has been identified, only one area. And you have places here which are already developed in this country which have 20 areas. If you look at the CRA, I want to say here that CRA did this thing with bias. Because many of the commissioners in CRA come from areas that were not included in the original marginalization policy. So they came in to expand the list to include areas that are not marginalized but are in their areas. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, so I'm losing my voice on this because it's very hurtful to see what we are doing. Some of the proposals that I want to suggest is that list developed by CRA must come to this parliament. That list must come to this parliament. We scrutinize it so that those areas that are marginalized actually get the funds. Those areas that are not marginalized are kicked out of that list. The second thing is that we have in this bill the National Fund Board, and then we have as many as there are areas, local committees. I will propose that we have committees at a second level, the national, the constituency, and then the local areas for the purpose of coordination. Because you can't take electricity from the main road, take it to Masangonia village or Roka village without it passing through other areas which do not have electricity. How will the electricity get there if you do not consider the whole line? You are saying you want to take water to a village in Taita Taveta which does not have tapped water, but you have excluded a village which is neighboring which the pipeline must pass through there, and then you give them 500,000. How will the water get there? You are allocating 1 million shillings to build a school in an area where there is no school, and yet the neighboring has no school. So, Mr. Speaker, what I want to emphasize on is there has been a deliberate attempt, even in the policy, by CRA to continue to marginalized areas. And I want to say that I will move amendments to this, so that, and also move amendments to the policy, so that Kilifi as a county benefits because it was one of the areas that was marginalized in this country, and it is in every record that is available on marginalization. But you can't give Kilifi the amount of money that they have given in CRA and taken all the money to areas that are already developed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well,
I support.
Honorable Baya, take some water, but Honorable Miremba isn't a good neighbor. Instead of Honorable Miremba giving you some water, he actually ran away from you, but nevertheless, I'm sure you get some water. What is your point of order, Honorable Omurele?
Speaker, with due regard and due respect to the chair, the Honorable Milemba was not running away from the Honorable member for Kilifi South. He was only coming to join the member for Luanda, who is his neighbor. Yeah. And we suffer the same fate because we are marginalized. We are extremely marginalized in Luanda and Muhaya because we have got the highest population density in this country outside of Nairobi. So we also want to be included in this consideration of marginalization. That is what we are discussing here.
You know, Honorable Murere also went further to contribute to the debate through another door. But that is well understood. Let's